Some men spend their entire lives trying to break into history books. Yoshie Shiratori spent his trying to break out of prison, convicted of a crime he didn't commit, tortured by guards, betrayed by the justice system. Shiratori refused to accept a life behind bars. Instead, he did the impossible, not once but 4 separate times, escaping some of the most escape-proof prisons in Japan. This is the unbelievable, almost superhuman story of Yoshie Shiratori, the prison break magician. Chapter 1, Aomori Prison, 1936, the first breakout. It began in the winter of 1936. In Aomori Prison, the guards had broken him physically, but not mentally. Every night they beat him, and prosecutors demanded the death penalty. For months he watched, studied, and waited. At 5:30 a.m., when the patrols changed, he struck. Using a metal wire secretly pried from a bath bucket, he picked the lock to his cell. Door after door he slipped through the prison, heart racing as minutes ticked by. He knew the guards would check his cell soon, but he had prepared for that. Beneath his blanket, he left a decoy, loose floorboards arranged to look like his sleeping body. When the guards peeked in, they thought he was sound asleep. By the time they discovered the truth the next morning, Shiratori was gone, but freedom was fleeting. After just 3 days, desperate for supplies, he was caught at a hospital. His punishment, a life sentence. Chapter 2, Akita Prison, 1942, The Copper Walls. 6 years later, Japan was at war, and Shiratori had been transferred to Akita Prison. If Aomori was bad, Akita was hell. Guards who had heard of his reputation tortured him daily and threw him into a special solitary cell, one designed specifically to break escape artists. The walls were lined with copper so smooth no one could climb them. A tiny skylight was sealed shut, and he was kept in handcuffs at all times. But the guards underestimated 2 things, his patience and his skill. Night after night, Shiratori tested the walls, the cuffs, the skylight, and slowly he worked. With the smuggled wire, he picked his cuffs. With sheer climbing ability, he scaled the slippery copper like a lizard. He loosened the rotting skylight frame, bit by bit. Then on a stormy night, when thunder masked his movements, he made his move. He climbed, pried open the skylight, and vanished into the night. 3 months later, exhausted and starving, he made a mistake. He went to the home of Kobayashi, the only guard who had ever shown him kindness. Hoping for help, he revealed his plan to appeal for justice. Kobayashi listened, nodded, and then called the police. Betrayed, Shiratori was captured again. Chapter 3, Abashiri, 1943, The Impossible Prison. Now the authorities had had enough. In 1943, they sent him to the worst place imaginable, Abashiri Prison in the icy wilderness of Hokkaido. Abashiri was considered escape-proof. Temperatures inside cells dropped below freezing, food froze solid, and guards shackled Shiratori with custom-made iron restraints that weighed 20 kilograms. The cuffs had no keyholes. They could only be removed by 2 blacksmiths after hours of work. But even here, he found a way. Every day guards slid miso soup through a slot in his cell, and every night Shiratori used a few drops of that soup to corrode the metal bolts and screws around his restraints and window. Slowly the salt oxidized the iron. Slowly the prison began to rust from the inside out. Months passed. Piece by piece the shackles weakened. Using one loosened screw as a makeshift tool, he pried apart the rest. He dislocated his own joints to fit through an opening smaller than his body, and then impossibly he was free. Shiratori became the first and only man to escape from Abashiri. Chapter 4, Sapporo Prison, 1947, Death Row. Years later, he was captured again, this time accused of killing a farmer in a scuffle. He insisted it was self-defense, but the court sentenced him to death. In 1947, he was sent to Sapporo Prison, placed under 24-hour surveillance with 6 armed guards. His cell was reinforced from top to bottom, with bars and windows smaller than the size of his head. Guards were so confident he couldn't escape that they didn't even bother handcuffing him. But Shiratori had one final trick. For weeks he acted defeated, staring at the ceiling, pretending to plan another skylight escape. The guards focused their eyes upward. They didn't realize the real threat was under their feet. Beneath his futon, Shiratori was quietly digging. Using utensils, scraps of metal, and even a miso bowl, he tunneled through the floorboards. Every night he replaced them carefully, making it look untouched. When guards checked, they thought he was simply sulking in bed. Then one morning his futon was empty. His restraints lay neatly folded to the side, and once again Yoshie Shiratori was gone. But time catches everyone. By 1948, Shiratori was older, tired, and running out of strength. In a small neighborhood in Sapporo, he sat down to rest. A policeman sat beside him, lit a cigarette, and, in a rare act of kindness, offered him one too. Shiratori was stunned. For years he had known only cruelty from law enforcement. That simple gesture broke him. Tears filled his eyes. He confessed his name and his past. This time, the court listened. They acknowledged the abuse he had suffered. They overturned his death sentence, reduced his conviction, and transferred him to a Tokyo prison where guards treated him with dignity, and something unexpected happened. Yoshie Shiratori stopped trying to escape. For the first time he accepted his sentence. He became a model inmate. In 1961, after serving 14 years, he was finally released on parole, a free man at last. 4 prisons, 4 escapes, countless betrayals, unimaginable suffering, and a willpower that defied logic. To some, Yoshie Shiratori was a criminal. To others, he was a hero who fought against injustice. But everyone agreed on one thing: he was a man the walls of Japan's prisons could never hold.